Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Jan, Patricia, and Peter. 1983, Part 178. These are letters that were originally published as Smallshaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC, number 91, published on January 1st, 2003. Letter from the editor of the SFMC. Yours truly, Peter J. Ray. Greetings, Gates. Let's deviate. And the beat goes on. 1983 speaks for itself. Christmas 2002 back at the ranch at 21508 Avalon Drive, Terra Ray in Rocky River, Ohio, USA, was the best Christmas ever. We all enjoyed each other's company, didn't we? So many fond memories. Walking to Rocky River Park with Patricia, Big Apple, and Tim, Little Peanut, for sledding. The Radio City Rockettes, Annie at the Beck Center. Lakewood Art League Christmas Party with the hammered dulcimer player. Molly Simon's baby shower, followed by the fast dash to see James Bond in Die Another Day. The Cleveland Orchestra at Severance Hall. The Cleveland Cavaliers game at Gund Arena. Patty and Tim's Star Wars games. Tim playing poker with Grandpa John. Snowfall on Christmas Eve, right on schedule. Christmas Eve dinner at McDonald's. Ruth's turkey dinners with all the trimmings at home. A beautiful Christmas tree. The Indian Guides reunion at the Donaldsons. What wonderful memories to cherish. All the best, Peter J. Ray. Now these first letters go back to earlier in the year. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, January 20th, 1983. Dearest Mother and Dad, what a busy month the last one has been since December 20th. Patty came home the 18th and Peter the 22nd, and how lucky I felt to have Patty for a month. She even said I could go back to New York with her. However, we're going to New York in 3 weeks for her concert, February 12th. It's so beautiful here this morning. We finally had our snow and the lake is getting rolling and it's slowly icing. First along the edge and the seagulls are gliding and glistening over it. Patty left Saturday and Rachel Sunday. Rachel was here for 8 days, came before we got home. Patty was so glad to have 2 sisters this vacation, Janice in the Bahamas and Rachel here. I think Janice was glad to have a break too. She's been so concerned about Mark. I must have written you about the harrowing experience Patty had when she took him sailing and they were swept to sea. The trip was exhausting for me, getting ready for Christmas, all the activities, and then the Bahamas and my fall there. The last night packing up, I was so tired I just folded and said I'd get up later to finish packing all the stuff, dishes, pans, and supplies. However, Janice and Patty went to work and did so much. Mark said I shouldn't try to do it all myself. Patty said better that 5 should spend 1 hour than 1 to spend 5 hours. So right. Pray for Peter and Mike down there on Reggie Stubbs' boat diving for conch. I went to a lovely coffee down the street yesterday, the neighbors, to meet my new next-door neighbor. One neighbor asked me to do a painting for her daughter's room. I don't really want to do commissions, though. Nan Gregory left for the Bahamas this morning, but asked for a painting for a friend's daughter's wedding. However, she'll get something else down there. Sharma Quilkin called and suggested that my show be on April 10th this year. She's coming for my new resume. I've been trying to get some paintings done for my show. It's getting harder as my standards are getting tougher too. Trying to get down the Christmas tree and decorations. You know me. I have to put on every ornament myself and take each one down. I think I told you Dave Myers, who's in his 50s, at John's law firm, had a heart attack in Florida and has been in intensive care and will spend the rest of the winter down there. It justifies the rest of the winter down there. No, it justifies what I think is better, to spend a month in the Bahamas to avoid a heart attack. Joe Schneider has fought me for 20 years on that one and won. Isabel Stevens had a burst appendix and is in the hospital. I'm so glad that you like the jacket. Hope it wasn't or isn't too big. Did you show Lynn? If you wore it over your sweater, it might be okay. They didn't have a small. So glad you had a good Christmas and anniversary. We're coming to Vancouver in July, so may have your anniversary then. Love you, Ruth. P.S. Patty started her research project at Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center on the DES problem. Mothers given DES in pregnancy and daughters got uterine problems. She's interviewing the daughters regarding psychological problems. Love, Ruth. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116, February 3rd, 1983. Dearest Mother, I hope that you'll continue to pray for Peter. He phoned yesterday from Nassau, just got back from 10 days conking. The water is cold and Mike got sick, so back to recuperate in Nassau. One day Peter said they dived and got 1,200 conch. I'm so afraid that he's pushing his body and heart. Thank you for all the copies of your messages. From Queen Elizabeth, too. How thoughtful of Bud to get them for us and to arrange for them. He had told me, but to keep it a surprise. Bud is leaving the 12th for Mexico. Should find lots of bargains there and a bargain trip with the Mexican peso so low. That's the weekend we fly to New York for Patty's concert. We're going to Palm Springs, February 26th. We're having such a mild winter, up to 56 degrees yesterday, and my pansies are blooming. No snow for so long, only once, I think. I hope you'll write to Peter and use your influence once again to get Peter off marijuana. He even smoked it in Norma's living room. God bless. Love, Ruth. Dear Gus, here is Peter's current mailing address. Peter J. Ray, care of Reginald Stubbs, P.O. Box N7939, New Providence, Nassau, Bahamas. I know that he'd like to hear from you. Love, John. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116, June 25th, 1983. Dearest Mother, this was one of my favorite dresses. Hope it looks okay on you. When we were in Nassau one year, John and the kids put money into gambling, slot machines, and I bought this dress. God bless. Love, Ruth. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116, June 28, 1983. Dearest Mother, I was so glad to receive your letters and do hope that you are all right. I have just written Bud about our reservations to Regina. Air Canada arrived Thursday, July 21st, Flight 107, arrived 10:44 a.m. Air Canada leaving Sunday, July 21st on flight number 235, leaving at 2:30 p.m. for Vancouver. We will be there Friday, July 22nd and Saturday, July 23rd. We could have your 60th wedding anniversary party at the nursing home during the day with Dad and some of your friends and relatives, and something at Bud's in the afternoon or evening if he is amenable. If you send me the names and addresses, I can send invitations from here for whatever time and place you and Bud decide. I had planned to do this after Vancouver, but since Janet will be there before, best to have it while she's home. This will be Bud's and your family reunion and your 60th wedding anniversary. While writing this letter and the one to Bud, I've decided that since our time is getting limited, that we should phone you and Bud to make plans as to what, when, and where. I'm sorry that I haven't gotten onto this sooner, but we've really had a lot going on. Now for some of your questions. Jill is not a Roman Catholic. Lots of people go to Rome who are not. Patty has been there before. It's a beautiful city. Jill's brother Mark is also also accepted into medical school. Their father is a doctor in Chicago. Catholics are Christians. You have been to a coffee at our home. It's like a tea except it's in the morning. Patty made lemon bars and shortbread for it, which John ate all before the party. I stayed up and made my apricot squares. The coffee was not for Patty, but for about 30 neighbors to meet my new neighbor, Linda Brown, next door. Shirley Brown, mother-in-law, made bran muffins for it too. Patty said, "Mother, you're a Wonder Woman if you pull this off." When it was a success, I didn't feel like a Wonder Woman. Peter has been in a treatment center for the chemically dependent. He has been off marijuana for 6 weeks since his birthday when he was at Duke on May 11th. He had told us that he felt it was bad for him, but now he can only remember the euphoric times. He is psychologically addicted. It is like an illness like diabetes. He is very depressed now, like Dad's moods. He cannot see what a wonderful person he could be, but feels worthless. We spent a whole day, Tuesday, with him and others for family counseling, and Wednesday afternoons with him and the counselor. Last week we all told him how bad he was under the influence, and today? He will get 3 12-hour passes to come home this weekend, but we will not go to Canada because of Peter. However, you must remember that I am a Smallshaw, and that is my family reunion too. I have been going to the Zook family reunions for 34 years of my life, and now it is our family reunion. John and I arrange it, and my family come to it. Mark, Jan, Patty, and Peter. Chris had a lovely cake in tribute to you last summer, and you were the center and part of the service. After 60 years, you are part of the Smallshaw family. Dad has had an illness all these years. Peter has some of that same illness. I am afraid, I hope not. He started smoking marijuana to make himself feel better from his depression, just as Dad has gambled. It's compulsive self-destruction, and they feel bad about themselves. It's a chemical or lack in the brain. We phoned Mark last night, and he feels that we have to help Peter get a better self-image. The real good Peter. It's so hard. It is a slow suicide. We don't know what to do when he gets out. We are afraid to leave him. Mike, his cousin, has been with our family for 6 months. 3 in the Bahamas with Peter, and 3 here building the wall and living here. He will paint the steps and has been doing the yard and living in the beach house. He also should soon get another job. His folks do not want him to come home, John's brother. No, Patty has not or never has been going to a Roman Catholic university. She has been working at Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center in the endocrinology psychiatric division. She phoned from Paris, France, and Venice, Italy. The lawyer for Ted Zook said that Ted said John was his favorite nephew and also a good, honest lawyer, so he named John one of the 3 executors of the will. The executors get 3% of the estate, and since there are 3, the lawyer, Lenore, Ted's sister, and John, they will each get 1% of the estate. John was not mentioned in the will except that he is an executor. Sorry that Irene and John will be gone while Janet and I are there, and your 60th wedding anniversary. I guess I should have planned and set the date long ago. God bless. Love, Ruth. P.S. John, Mike, and I just visited with Peter for a counseling session to reinforce the bad effects of marijuana on Peter. He is having a hard time but feeling a bit better. When he quit for you while he was at Duke, he said that he didn't have a hard time stopping for a year and a half. However, he tells us that when he first smoked again that he knew he was hooked. He tells us that he was so lonely. He has come to believe that it's been good for him and had to be convinced, or rather convince himself, that it's not. It really is the devil trying to keep hold of him. Keep praying. Love, Ruth. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. July 11th, 1983. Dearest Mother and Dad, By the time you receive this, your lovely granddaughter Janet and precious great-granddaughter Misty will be with you, and I'm sure you'll be happy and enjoying them. Bud and Joan, too. The list for the invitations came Saturday, July 9th. Peter was home, and we ordered him some new contact lenses. We took some friends out for dinner at a very glamorous spot and then to the Shakespeare play, Merry Wives of Windsor. Great. Yesterday, Mike and Peter helped me set up my art show for the Westlake Historical Society Antique Show outdoors. Then we all went to church for communion and then stayed for the spiritual healing, and Peter had the laying on of hands. He finally seems to want to get better and is trying. Hope he can make it. John, Peter, and Mike went to an AA meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous, while I was at my art show. After we took Peter back, we were so tired I went to bed at 8:30 p.m. I got up at midnight and wrote your invitations until 4:30 a.m. and slept until 7:30. John mailed 38 this morning, and I may get some more tonight. I hope they get there in time, but you probably should phone or tell anyone you like. I'll enclose some blank envelopes so you can send or give it to someone if you want that you maybe forgot to list. I should have planned it all sooner and had them printed, but had planned to come after Vancouver until I learned that Janet was coming earlier. Hope it works out okay. Too bad we didn't do it last summer when Mark, Janice, and Peter were there too, and we were able to bring Dad home to Bud's patio. Our weather here today is absolutely heavenly. Beautiful sunny days, not too hot. The lawn is beautiful except for the darn raccoons tearing it up, and the roses are lovely except for the darn Japanese beetles. I feel like I'm in a war with marijuana and the devil over Peter, too. I will go all day tomorrow again for family counseling with him and group therapy with others. It's been quite educational. It's like alcoholism. Chemical dependency can ruin their brain. Fortunately, so far his IQ is still very high. Superior, in fact, but he has lapses. He's learning how to control his temper and relate to people. Things Dad should have learned. I'm certain that Dad has had this chemical imbalance in his brain, lack of dopamine. Peter was self-medicating with marijuana to make him not feel so depressed. I'll bring some things for your party. Love, Ruth. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. August 29th, 1983. Dearest Mother and Dad, I was so very glad to receive your letter and that you survived all the flurry of activities that I created in your life and lives. I certainly hope that the kidney problems have cleared up and that you are getting rested up and no more shingles. After we had been to California for Ted Zook's funeral with Lenore and Dale, Lenore got shingles, so I'm getting the idea that I caused them. Not Mrs. Irwin's, though. Your letter arrived and Connie's with the pictures and the negatives just as we were leaving for Huron, Ohio, and my art show in Lakeside with all our stuff. John handed me the letters in the car and said, "You'll be glad to read these on the way." The pictures are wonderful, and I hope Bud's are as good. Only too bad that we didn't get one of the family together and a shot of the whole party at the tables. However, so really wonderful of Connie to show up like an angel to take them. We had a lovely letter from Mrs. Burks about the painting. So glad she liked it. I had meant to write her for the flowers and even thought of sending a check. Not now. I sold a dogwood painting to Katie Zook, John's cousin's wife at Lakeside, for $135, and Chris, 2 small ones for $45, so $185 total. And I got an honorable mention at the Lakeside show for my shell painting. So much has happened since we left you. We had a marvelous time in Vancouver and Victoria. After we left you, we visited friends in Tacoma. Jane Faulkner, Patty's friend, Mary's sister, and her husband Mike. She's a lawyer and her husband is a veterinarian. Patty will be Mary Faulkner's bridesmaid next week. I had a big party for Jane and Mike when they were married. We had trouble finding them over on the island from Vancouver, but they had a lovely place right on the water. We didn't get back to Vancouver until 3:30 a.m. Carol said that was a switch for her to be out late. Nadine seemed annoyed. John had a 7:30 a.m. meeting. We had a great time at the ball that night. Jer and Bruce Partridge took us sightseeing Saturday after we visited the courthouse, a lovely new one, and the World Council of Churches art show meeting in Vancouver. Sunday we had a lovely trip to Victoria with them and Butchart Gardens. We had brunch on the boat going over. Their son and daughter have a nice home there. He's a lawyer, and her grandfather was Attorney General, and they had us for high English high tea. We also had a lovely luncheon on the Ocean Club. Jer and Bruce showed us great hospitality, and we saw lovely Victoria. John had been their best man at Oberlin. We showered at their house before we flew home all Sunday night. Really an exhausting trip to Toronto and Cleveland. Peter came home, and the Faulkners, Mary's folks, where Peter had stayed, had us for dinner. Peter's so much better, but is still depressed and still has no job, but he looks better. His girlfriend from India, Sunita Kumar, has been here for a week from Duke. She's a senior in civil engineering, a beautiful girl. Patty got home from 2 months in Europe. She had a wonderful time and felt that she could go on traveling forever. She and Peter drove 4.5 hours to Cincinnati, Ohio to get her an apartment for medical school, and she found a nice apartment. I was very impressed with her. We looked at so many that were expensive, and she saw an apartment building she liked and said, "I'd like to live there." And she talked to a fellow, and then the manager, and the woman liked her and said she would have someone moving out, and they'd redecorate it for her and not charge her for September, and only $165 per month. One boy's paying $300 per month. She left yesterday with Mark and Jan going to Boston and drove her part way to New York, where she's trying to sell her furniture. We may drive to New York to bring some of her things back for Cincinnati. She may fly back. Mark and Janice were out in California for their SRF convocation, and Mark flew to Boston and drove here 11 hours for our 33rd wedding anniversary. And Janice flew here also that day. Sunita, Peter's girlfriend, flew here from South Carolina that day, and Helen flew in from New York, so we had everyone here on the 19th. The next day we took my paintings to the Huron Art Show, and everyone else went to Lakeside, where we've been for a week. 30 of us for the potluck. John sent Chris an invitation, and she and Bill came too. I told her that she'd hurt your feelings, but she denied saying those things and left in tears. They seemed to have a good time prior to that, swimming and so forth. I've been very busy raising the $10,000 for the Ohio Watercolor Society Awards show and have about $8,000, but the deadline is here. However, they had $8,000 last year, so we'll see. Our whole family was together last week. What an accomplishment. We all went to dinner in the Shakespeare Theater Saturday night when we got back from Lakeside. Mark is selling his business, his carpet store, for $90,000. Jan has been helping him with the books and quit her other work. He is getting into investment counseling or asset management, and they are moving to a larger house. Thank you for the lovely anniversary plate. God bless. Love, Ruth. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. August 31st, 1983. Dear Mother and Dad, it was really wonderful that you had so many friends to help you celebrate your 60th wedding anniversary. Your friends really made the party. I noticed in the newspaper the leader post that they had 2 types of write-ups, the classifieds and those on the events or society page. Both had charges. When we were in Vancouver, I wrote it up for the newspaper and meant to give it to you to proofread and send in to the events and send a check for whatever it cost, $10, $15, $20. I imagine since it's about 22 cents a word, I think, and about 100 words. I'm sorry that I took so long to send it, but I don't think that it matters being in so late. You can change it in any way that you like, but nice for you to have it in. Ted Zook's obituary cost John over $100 to put in, so this is something you can enjoy seeing. I'm so glad we worked it out. Did you ever get my letter? I'm sorry some of the invitations were late and blank. Glad you liked the pictures of Janet and Misty. God bless. Love, Ruth. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. September 13th, 1983. Dearest Mother and Dad, I was so glad to receive your letter today. It's so good that your kidney trouble has improved. You just had too much going on for your system, as I have too. How wonderful, though, to have all 4 generations in one house at one time at age 85. I must write to Bud before he leaves and thank him for all his hospitality too. We really have had an extremely busy time. Patty drove to Cincinnati for orientation for medical school before returning for the rehearsal dinner at the Clifton Club for Mary Faulkner's wedding. Patty was the maid of honor and looked so beautiful. Mary was a lovely bride, and it was a lovely garden wedding. I have been very busy with raising the $10,000 for the Ohio Watercolor Society and doing much paperwork. I also got very hot at my art show, about passed out. It was nice weather at Lakeside, warm but good swimming weather. A week ago, my good right eye started flashing like lightning, as my left one did 6 years ago before Helen Zook's 80th birthday party. Black spots forming in the center of my right eye. I can't see too well. I went to the eye doctor after 6 days when Patty returned with the car, and I have a detached vitreous in my eye. And he wanted me to see an eye retina man about my retina. Patty was back in Cincinnati with the car, so Mary's sister Jane, whom we visited in Tacoma, took me to the Cleveland Clinic eye doctor. I was supposed to take it easy and not read and go back next week. However, we had a picnic for Mary's relatives while Patty and everyone were at the rehearsal dinner. Afterwards, they all came back here, about 50, until 2:30 a.m. The young people, about 20 of them, went swimming nude in the Lake Erie, and some stayed in the beach house. Peter had helped me so much, vacuuming, no cleaning woman, mowing the yard. He'd also helped the Faulkners on their yard and garden. He helped me take out all the chairs and tables and cushions, really needed him. The day of the wedding, all the young adults came, swimming again. The weather was hot, beautiful evening here on the lake and sunset. Mary and Jane had a nap in the beach house until an hour or so before the wedding. The wedding was in their garden and a lovely reception. They videotaped it, movies and sound. Lovely Mary and Patty looked beautiful. They had a dance after dinner in the garden. Patty had a wonderful time, really danced steadily, Peter too. Also had a young man phoning Patty every half hour from New York, and Peter's girlfriend phoning him from Duke. Wonderful, so many friends. After the evening dance, Mary and her Paul walked here in her wedding gown, and they stayed the night in the beach house before going to Banff and Lake Louise. Her sister Jane had too when she was married before they left for Europe. Also, all the crowd went down swimming until 2:30 a.m. again after the wedding. Real traffic through here. The guests were from everywhere. The groom's family from Oregon, Jane and Mike from Tacoma, Mary and Paul from Yakima, some from Atlanta, Boston, and New York. A wonderful family feeling. We had to drive Patty back to Cincinnati the next day and got home again at 2:30 in the morning. 3 nights in a row. Patty started cutting a cadaver her first day. Really a tough way to start. Hope she didn't faint. Peter is working today. He started yesterday at Don Products office work. He got it, our friend Don Brown's place, himself, but thinks it's just temporary. He is also giving talks at a nursing home, the Welsh Home for Welsh People. He gave his talk on Jamaica and is going to give one on Afghanistan. He seems to be improving. He is still depressed but not suicidal anymore, praise the Lord. He looks wonderful, so handsome but doesn't know it. They told us about the article you sent, a lack of a chemical in the brain. I think Dad has it too, or had it. There was a terrific program on television called Epidemic. 10% of our population are being destroyed by marijuana, alcohol, and drugs, and don't even realize it. 10% of our creative brain power. Peter goes to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings every night. It's a wonderful spiritual program. They learn to call on their higher power for help. Sometimes I hear him praying out loud for help. When I went back to pick him up yesterday, a girl in the factory part told me she had seen him in the office. There are hundreds of people there. He looked handsome in his navy jacket and tie and shirt. Thank you for the article on depression. Sorry John forgot or didn't know to have his secretary type up the 60th party for you. I will send negatives after we get copies. God bless. Love, Ruth. P.S. Patty told me that they have more of the suede jackets in like I sent you last year. She seemed to think your purple one too large and wanted to sell it to Irene. She asked me to buy one in green, but I've never seen them in green. However, this year they do have more colors. Brown, navy, grape, red, and gray. If you let me know right away what color you want, small I presume, I'll get you one. And you can sell Irene yours. Or if she prefers another color, I'll get one for her in medium. They may not have all shades left, but I'll see. I think you said they were going to be away on a trip. If so, let me know your choice. Love, Ruth. P.S. Peter is working today and tomorrow in the blueprint department and downtown all next week at the college. It certainly has helped his spirits to have work. Now we have one letter based on the original publication. It's from my father, John S. Ray. Dear Editor, I have very much enjoyed the 4 pages of pictures in SFMC 91. Thank you. Peter bringing up 1,200 conch from the ocean floor in one day. Amazing. Peter still struggling. What an effort. Thank God Peter made it. An excellent picture of David Myers. A terrific loss when he died. Ruth continues her success in the art world. I enjoyed being reminded of our many activities and good times. Thanks for another great issue. Love, Dad. John S. Ray, Rocky River, Ohio. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.